All right, let me quickly cut across to our reporter Nagarjun Dwarkanath, who's been tracking that story. We also have KV Dhananjay, who's a Supreme Court advocate. Fatima, who's also a CFI member, the Campus Front of India. She's part of that conference as well. In fact, let me start with you, Fatima. What exactly is the agenda of the conference, which we believe the police is fearing can lead to communal tensions? What's on the agenda of that conference today?
Yeah, basically this conference was India is celebrating its 75th Indian independence. So, but in that 75th Indian independence, no woman is safe in this country. No woman is leading a safe life in this country. So all the atrocities, all the denial of education, or if all the atrocities are the women are becoming the tools. So basically we united and raised our voice against this. That's it.
You've united your voice against this, but at this point the High Court of Karnataka has said that there is no way that hijab can be worn inside classrooms, and we believe that's also a topic that you all have taken up to speak at that conference, that you all are condemning this move, you all want to reach to the higher courts, etc. And we hear that there's much talk about many Hindu groups who have filed complaints with the police in Mangaluru, saying the CFI's conference, CFI's march, peace walk, etc. are leading to communal tensions. This is a group that is trying to unleash communal hatred. How would you receive that?
Yeah. One thing I have to clearly say that the people who are trying to destroy the harmony in the society, or those who are trying to run this peaceful protest or rally, is BJP and RSS. The people who are really harmful to the society is RSS and BJP. The people who have problem with their ideology, the problem by saying the truth, is they are going to really they are thinking that we are the obstacle to them. So we have to say that the people who are trying to run the peace in society is BJP and RSS. It is clear. We don't have any fear to say that.
All right, stay with us, Fatima. Let me quickly cut across to our reporter Nagarjun, who has been tracking the story. Do we have Nagarjun there? All right, cutting across to KV Dhananjay. Dhananjay, at this point, sir, we are looking at the police in Mangaluru that have denied permission for the CFI to carry out a march. They wanted to carry out a march which they called as a peace march, condemning various issues with regards to the Muslim community. They believe, in fact, the CFI, the PFI claiming that Muslims are marginalized, their rights have been ignored, Muslim girls have been targeted because of the hijab ban, etc. So this has all been part of the agenda, which Hindu groups in Mangaluru have filed a complaint with the police saying that this is a group trying to unleash communal hatred and therefore they must be denied permission. So the protest walk or the peace walk was denied permission, but the conference has happened there. Let me also give you a brief background. The PFI has had questionable credibility, right? In the past to date, the NIA, in fact, the agency, the anti-terror agency, has been constantly casting doubts on the credibility of the PFI. At a time like this, the Campus Front of India, which is now welcoming a lot many more Muslim youth on board, carrying out this huge conference, etc., does that raise concerns on security for that matter?
It shouldn't at all. If women want to come together and they want to protest, and protest can also be over a judgment of a court. Like in 1973, 1975, you had the Honorable Supreme Court, a 5-judge bench, of whom 4 judges upheld Srimati Indira Gandhi's emergency. What happened in the next 2 years? There were protests. There were people protesting against that judgment. I mean, the current today's BJP, which can trace its origins to the movement then, the opposition movement then, they did not say that, oh God, the Supreme Court has approved in Srimati Indira Gandhi's emergency, let's just go and get ourselves arrested. That's not it. So in a democracy, people are entitled to peacefully protest and criticize the judgment of a court. And I don't believe the group today, in fact, the primary agenda was to criticize the judgment of the High Court. The primary agenda was in a way political, to talk about, in their perception, the deterioration of women's rights. They were entitled to it. Why did the police deny them the permission? And who are the Hindu groups to tell the police to not grant permission to or a permit to these people in the first place? The police ought to have sent away the Hindu groups by telling them that the police would certainly know what the law is and what do Hindu groups have to do with this case. These people are citizens of India and they are entitled to protest.
As much as we know that the PFI or the CFI have legal provisions under which they can carry forward with their conference, etc. Under the Constitution, they have those rights, but the background of this, we're looking...
Okay, they're past. I just want to ask, we were under British rule for a very long time. So have we stopped talking to the British? Have we stopped trade with them? Are they not a very big influence in our investment? Under the law and under the UAPA, a banned organization can itself carry on benevolent and then charitable activities.
So this is precisely what I'm trying to say. As much as there's aspersions cast on the credibility of the PFI or the CFI, so far no governments have banned it. In fact, there's not been a proposal as well. There's been only verbal communication saying we must ban it, we must ban it, must think over banning it, etc. But there's no formal push, even by the Karnataka government for that matter, to completely ban the outfit. And now we see the CFI, which is a sister concern of the PFI, now growing in might in a city like Mangaluru, and it seems like all Muslim youth particularly, find a voice on that platform. They are being banned, saying that they are unleashing communal hatred. Also, a quick word. The reason to why there's aspersions cast is because, for example, the Patna terror module that happened in Patna that was busted, there were PFI, SDPI pamphlets found at that house of those suspected terrorists. So we don't know what kind of links some of the members may have. Of course, they want to project themselves as a entity or a organization to voice out for Muslim rights or speak out for the marginalized Muslims, according to them. But there is much doubt on the credibility and the members and their associations with terrorist groups. Don't you think the police at this point should be slightly more concerned while giving out permission?
Well, first of all, the Bihar plot, I think the police were giving out great speeches and those speeches look like political speeches. If they have suspicion over somebody, they ought to arrest that individual. And then what is the credibility of the police in the first place? We all know the police force in a large number of instances is compromised. They will parrot whatever the political masters want the police force to say. If PFI was in any manner involved in the Patna catch, I think members of the PFI should be arrested promptly. Why is that not happening? Any plan to attack the in person is so concerning. The police ought not to be giving press conferences. They ought to go and arrest people. And problem is, if they do arrest people without any iota of evidence, then it's more likely that they will be embarrassed during bail hearings. And again, the most important thing is, do you want to place, or rather, do you want to see the police as a credible force in this country? Yes. It would be a great thing if we, in fact, could see the police as a very credible force, as a professional force and a police force which is committed to honesty. But the actuality is there are a lot of caveats there. Right. So it doesn't matter what the police says, but I think people have to be careful and people have to weigh. All said and done, you have to go by appearances. If these women were allowed to hold a peaceful march, whose rights would it affect? What kind of public breach would there have been? They ought to have been allowed, and I think that's a breach. So. If people recognize that, then they would have difficulty believing in the Hindu group's version or difficulty believing in the police version or the Karnataka government's version, because a vulnerable group was prevented from doing what a democracy assures them.
At this point, Fatima Usman is joining me right here. Fatima, I'd request you and Mr. Dhananjay to stay with us. In fact, we hear from the conference that was conducted at the CFI, that venue by the CFI. We hear that pro-hijab students have now, taken a decision that they are going to complete their education and not without the hijab, with the hijab. They insist that they will now go to places or schools or educational institutions where hijab is allowed. They will withdraw and maybe pull out from those institutions where hijab is banned and go to institutions where hijab is allowed. We won't give up our right. We will go by our constitution, and if our rights are infringed, then we know how to get it back. We are hoping that the Supreme Court will grant us justice and we will wait for it. They, the CFI, invited as a guest. I've participated as a speaker in several such events in the past as well. They called me because I'm a student activist. Now, many of those girls who were who literally raised the hijab row, they claim that they are not part of the CFI, but they are present at this conference as a speaker, and they will fight for their rights. Let's hear it from one of those hijab activists.
ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಹಿಜಾಬ್ಗೆ ಪರ್ಮಿಷನ್ ಇದೆಯಾ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಎಜುಕೇಶನ್ ಅನ್ನು ನಾವು ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ಹಕ್ಕನ್ನು ನಾವು ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಕೊಡುವುದಿಲ್ಲ.
Wherever we have permission to wear the hijab, we will go there and complete our education. We will not give up on our rights. We have our rights under the constitution and we will execute them.
ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಹಕ್ಕನ್ನು ಕೇಳ್ತಿರುವಂತದ್ದು.
We are only asking for our rights. We are not going over and above the constitution. What the constitution provides is what we are asking for. All right, that's Gausia, one of the hijab activists who's spoken and digs in her heels, saying that there's no way education will be stopped. Girls with the hijab will now start studying at institutions where hijab is allowed, and they will go as per the constitution. If they are denied their rights, then they know how to get back their right under the constitution. We're hoping that the Supreme Court now will give them some relief. This is precisely what was said at the conference, and here is the reaction coming in as well. We have Fatima, who still joins us. Fatima, do you believe in the same? Many of the institutions, almost a blanket ban now in institutions across Karnataka. Not just Karnataka, we see that the Karnataka High Court's judgment has also set precedents across many other states in the country, where institutions now citing the Karnataka High Court judgment, saying that inside school, inside college, all are equal. You can't wear your religion on your sleeve. No hijab will be allowed. Not just hijab, anything else. The rudraksh or any other religious symbol will not be allowed inside classrooms now. How would you, what is your fight up ahead?
My first point is that we are living in a country where we have the constitution, and it is not that the constitution not given the right to us to be what we like to, we can be like whatever we want. So if she wants to wear the hijab, let her be. If someone wants to wear the rudraksh, let them be, because no one has the issues. The only people who have the issues with hijab and their religious belief are the real terrorist in this country. We can say the terrorist in this country, and the students have the right to choose the college where she wants
but
to go.
as much as you speak for rights under the constitution, Fatima, there's a lot of doubts cast on the PFI as an organization. The NIA claims that they could have terror links, etc. So don't you worry to be associated with a group like that?
I don't have. I'm Campus Front of India State Committee member. I only have the link with Campus Front and nothing to do with the PFI.
So no, but we do know it's part of the PFI.
So, I don't agree with this. I am a student from a student organization, which is a single organization which doesn't have any the rumors you are saying.
So you're saying your CFI has clean image and credibility, and therefore there's nothing to do with the PFI. As much as you say it, one knows that this is linked. This is a campus front of the PFI. Unfortunately, the PFI still has doubts on its credibility, which it may try to wash off on one hand. On the other, the government mulling over banning it. At this point, your voice being heard on a platform like that is certainly what's concerning. Would you want to take up an independent fight, Fatima? Is there a way that you want to take this up independent, considering the PFI has, doubts on its credibility?
I don't think I have to comment on this.
All right. Fatima, thank you very much. Do stay with us. A quick word from Mr. Dhananjay. Mr. Dhananjay, you heard the girls there saying that they will continue their education, hoping for relief from the Supreme Court at this point. Again, I'd like to ask you, at a time like this, when PFI is looked at with so much doubt, we see many of the Muslim youth increasingly joining the Campus Front of India as a platform to voice their opinion. Does this pose a risk? Do you see, what do you see in the near future with this?
Well, I don't see any threat. I think the police force has, so many more works to do. They shouldn't be bothering and they shouldn't be harassing students in this manner. If students want to carry out a protest, they should be free to do so. And you were talking about the past. By the way, in the past, the RSS was also banned, for your information. So it doesn't make sense to talk about the past over and over again, because if PFI at this point of time is engaged in any activity that is detrimental to the security of India, please ban that right away. And instead of doing that, instead of being able to get evidence to back up all these exorbitant, these exotic claims, I think the police should in fact behave more responsibly and reasonably. And these people are entitled to protest. These people are entitled to say, the Constitution of India gives them the freedom to say a judgment of a court is wrong. For your information, courts don't say that they decide correctly. Courts only say whatever they do decide, that judgment should be binding on people. Even no court in the world is going to say that they decide correctly. So that's because the jurisprudence, the very nature of jurisprudence is such that judgments of courts are not presumed to be correct. Judgments of courts are only presumed to be binding. All right, it's not presumed to be binding. It in fact is binding in law and in fact. So these people are free to carry out their activity, and if I don't know, a campus front wants to come and pay their lawyers' fee, so be it. And I would request the lawyers to do it freely instead.
Right, Mr. Banerjee, I really appreciate your time for joining us. Thank you very much.